Hello everyone, my name is Shaida Mehrban. I'm originally from Pakistan, but I have been living here for quite a while. Now, since becoming a mum of four, I started to get my own education and went to uni. I graduated and it was super tough because I was raising four children on my own as well. That aside, I felt that in my community, and we keep talking about ethnic groups and everything else, but in my community, I just felt that women at large were being left behind. Men had their corner shop, they came back in the 60s, but you know, they had a career of some sort, bringing in the money, and where our women were just being left behind at home, just having to look after the children and bring them up and, you know, do the housework and stuff. So as a mom of four and at home, what I decided to do was to start teaching those women in our community the basic English. And from that, we started job hunting, we started doing CVs, we started doing application forms and so on. Some of those women now have small businesses. So really, you know, and I think for me, the biggest thing is that a lot of people think they can't do something, but actually with a little bit of help, most of us can do what we want. Now, from that, I've done my master's last year, and from that master's, I've produced this manuscript, which is number 9. I have 8 books already. This is the 9th, and then I've got number 10 in the pipeline as well. But going back a little bit, I mean, I love politics, and I was a councillor for 8 years, and maybe go back to it this year, who knows. But I'm also a volunteer with a local charity that I've been with them as one of their trustees and in charge of membership. But I mean, to earn money, I'm an English lecturer. I also tutor, and I also teach adults English, history, and geography. So I think that's enough about me. I did run my own writers group from my home for about 3 years. And then the group got larger and larger, and then I stopped. But looking at this and thinking about what this brings to the table, and I think to myself, this is something I could do right on my own doorstep as well. I've often thought about maybe becoming a publisher, even though my own books have not really made it with a traditional publisher as such. But I live in hope, and I continue, because I'm not one to give up. So no matter what happens, the journey continues. Right, okay, so this is number 9 manuscript. I have sent it to a few publishers, but nothing yet, and I'm still waiting. So the title is I Hate Onions. Mia lives with her grandparents and her sister Mina. When her mother passed away, she heard people sharing secrets about her. Grandparents denied all this, leaving Mia at her lowest ebb. She self-harms and makes food her best friend. Months later, grandfather is on his deathbed and asks the girls to write a letter for him, for someone. Waiting impatiently for the key, which would unfold the secrets and lies, till one late evening, a younger version of grandfather entered the house. Happiness is always short-lived. Father says he's getting married to the girl who Mia called the Onion. And yes, Mia really hates onions. He also says that they will leave for London, leaving behind grandmother, their home, and the only life that they ever knew. One day in London, Mia overhears that grandmother is poorly. Destination Heathrow, no documents, so she runs on the luggage belt to get onto the aeroplane. Escorted back, the Onion that she had hated so much finally comes to her rescue. Chapter 1. Late March evening, the clear night sky promises to bring another fine day tomorrow in this very sleepy, lush green valley called Mali. Everyone here knows each other and their business, and I, Mia, the youngest member of the Shah family, pray for my grandpa as the moon smiles at me. Maybe it will be a better day tomorrow. Don't worry about me, kiddo. Your moon will make me better. I will be fine. Kicking like a horse in a few days. Now get to bed. It's late. I stare into his half-open eyes as he lay so still. As often, you cannot tell if he's dead or alive. I ask if he wants his tablet before I go. He nods, so I open the brown bottle plastered with the army logo, R as most of the things that he owns. The smell of rotten tobacco goes up my nostrils as I take a tablet out. Quickly, he opens his mouth as I place it on his curly tongue and put the glass of water into his shaky hand. Slowly, he takes a sip and wipes away the dribbles from the edges of his mouth. He nods again and offers a tiny smile from the corner of his quivering lips. You're a good girl, is all that he offers. Thanks. I place the glass on the bedside table so he can grab it himself at night. He lowers into the bed and huddles the pillow tightly under his neck. I sit beside him and see his bed socks near his legs, which he sometimes wears during January and February. They always smell of the strong, warm vapor rub, so I throw them under his bed, as he will not need them now. Night-night, kiddo, and leave my socks, he utters in a slurry voice. Sad to see how he cannot talk a lot anymore, but he always loved talking before, a real storyteller who adds excitement to all his adventures, from his days in the Pakistani army. Grandma always dressed in her best clothes when she used to go and visit him at his home back in Malaya occasionally, our big town which was miles away from us. He always dramatized his heroic tales and the exciting but dangerous places he had been to, like Turkey, which, by the way, means the same as a chicken, and there are plenty of them here. So maybe that place looks a lot like a turkey. He often sees photos of him flying the Pakistani army flag in his smart hat from the big city of Karachi, which he said was in the province of Sindh, wherever that is, the home of all the government forces. And then he always ends up on that dreadful day when someone shot him in the leg. Bang, bang. He always squints his eyes and shouts, I hate fumed powder smells. And as if he is revisiting it, his face turns pale. He utters, it's all about luck. And his had just run out. Being of no use to the army anymore, he came back home with his ego bruised and mind feeling pretty useless, even though it put a permanent smile on Grandma's face as she had tasted the smell of money on her tongue. However, when a handy payout from the forces and a generous pension from the government, he was quite happy that at least money had been sorted. I hate change, and seeing him struggling to breathe with a cough that lingers and his chest crackling, it makes me very sad. The room is full of the warm outdoor breeze, and soon the sound of his light snoring serenades the room. I kiss him on his hollow cheek and whisper, why do you do so much work during the day? What about if you die tonight? You can't. You still need to take me to the boats in Karachi. As I stand outside his room under the moonlit sky, I can just about hear our river that surrounds this valley, and today it is not calling out to the troubled winds that have gone a few days ago. So I know that there is no bad news tonight. People here are simple folk. So often they can predict the weather by listening to the river, yet others rely on the television or radio. Grandma's bed creaks as she tilts her head to look at me, so I quietly tiptoe into our big bedroom. Mina, my older sister, is not lying there, and it does not take a genius to know where she will be. You see, Mina has always slept with Grandma, and I have always slept on Mum's bed, and that is just the way it's always been. I see a small head with long, scraggly, thin hair bopping up and down on my bed. She turns her head around and tells me to go and sleep elsewhere. She says she's the eldest and wants to sleep on the biggest bed in the house, for once, but I tell her to stop being bossy. Standing beside my bed, tapping my feet, while staring at Mina's gloating face, I feel like thumping her, but Grandma always takes her side. So I try and think like an adult and be very patient. But cheeky girl quickly pulls a blanket over her face and within seconds pretends to be snoring. The devil inside me wakes up, and as I pull the blanket from her feet all the way back and out of her hands, she yells at the top of her soft voice as I grab her feet and try and pull her off my bed. Okay, Mia, she screams as she quickly scampers into Grandma's bed. Grandma tuts. What else? As I get into my bed and huddle Mum's pillow, I pull the blanket closely to my neck, just the way Grandpa always does. Closing my eyes, Mum's memories flood back. She's lying here close to me, even though I know she is not here, as we buried her. I sigh, and as I open my eyes and scratch my sore wrist, I remember that evening I laid flat by the riverbed, taking in the sea salt smells that form around the edges as the waves hit the rocks, leaving a residue of salt in our mouths. Women stood far afar, lapping up the salt for home, while my tiny boat bobbled up and down because the river was very choppy. It was actually speaking to me, but I was just a kid. I didn't know, and as I looked up, I could see the wind wanting to howl at me. So I quickly legged it home and whispered, "The river was talking to me, Mum," while hugging her around her legs as she stood rubbing my back. At night, I laid quietly with Mum as she kicked her legs in pain, turning her head from side to side, yet her arms lay by her side, as stiff as two poles. "Close your eyes, child. Everything will be better in the morning. Promise," said Grandma. But alas, she did not keep her promise. First sight of the cracked burst of sunlight, I opened my eyes to see Mother peacefully asleep. And as I lay beside her cold, stiff body, daylight had broken too quickly, and so had news of Mum. People trotted in to pay their respects. Close female family members came up with their arms in the air, crying, "Bibi, you've lost your only child," to our Grandma. It is quite traditional here to go and cry at every single death, as well as eat chicken, curry, and onion salad. And as I've said, I hate onions. They always make me cry. Suddenly everything changed. No more Mum, but we sisters just seemed to have lost that closeness that we had with once upon a time. And I could not understand death. But Grandma seemed lost also. And so she stopped talking altogether. Everyone said, "Be strong." But how? I think Mum took something precious away from us with her, and I felt resentment towards Mina, as she still had Grandma, and I had no one. But the only rock that we did have was our granddad. 3 months on from Mum's death, and I go to write in my diary. "Dear diary, everything's changed. Everything's changed. Will it ever go back to normal?" 2 years have gone by and lives have continued in the same way as before. Grandma does the cooking, Grandpa does the outside jobs, and I help sweep when I come home from school. Mina, however, lays on the bed every day after school, saying that she's tired. And I know it's an excuse, but she does always get away with it. When I tell Grandpa, he winks and chuckles and always says, "Don't mind, let it go." Well, I do mind. "Grandma, why do you ladies all do the boring jobs, cooking, cleaning, and just pottering around the house?" "Traditions, dear," she tells me. Grandpa sometimes sneaks me out as Grandma is left bellowing at me. The animals, I creep under the cow and drink its milk, then sit on the big ferocious bull like an adult. Grandpa picks me up, sits me on his heavy tractor, and lets me drive it as it slowly chugs away on our fields. I crack the whip in my hand while clicking my tongue. That's how we order the animals. Super exciting. One late afternoon in October, the hot summer rains had left, and the steam rises from the ground after causing destruction to the crops. The animals come out to play, and so do Mina and I, with our hair hanging limp, both sneezing away as we sit in the warm sun. The sun dances around the small valley, looking bright like blood oranges. Achoo! "Well, go and play in the rain again," scolds Grandma. She is annoyed, as since Mum's death, she said no playing in the rain or going out alone for safety reasons. So soaking ourselves will give us pneumonia, and then we will also die. However, she's too old to be noticing exactly what we do and when we do that. "Mina, I'm dry now. Shall we go to the shops? Maybe I can get some sweets for us." "No." "Do you have any money, Mina?" "No." So I ask Grandma the living money box, but she gives me a stern look. If only Mina could ask. She always says yes to her. But Grandpa never says yes to me at all. But then he never says no either. But recently, Grandma goes to draw his pension, so therefore he doesn't have much money. Shall I wrap up? Yeah. Yep. Okay. I'll leave it there. Thank you.